Hey guys, so this is Tim, back again with another video, and as you can see we're here inside the Freenas server, and this is just as an introduction, because in a bit I'm going to show you how to configure all this, show you some benchmarks and a lot of other cool stuff. So stay tuned for that, and in the meantime you can smash the like button if you like the video, and be sure to subscribe as well if you want to keep up to date with a lot of cool Houdini tutorials that I do, other tech stuff, and more stuff like that. So let's dive right in, and I hope you enjoy. Alright, so my actual server is up and running, and it's working great. And I kind of wanted to make sure that everything was working properly before I started recording any videos about it, because you don't want to watch me troubleshoot everything, because that always happens when you build something, always run into trouble. But all of that is sorted out. So now what I kind of want to do is, because I do want to take you through the install process of Freenas. So I'm going to fire up a virtual machine, and then I'm going to install Freenas on there, and then show you what it's like when you just set up Freenas. And then after that we'll head back into the actual Freenas server. So I configured it somewhat similarly to my own server, and I kind of recommend, if you want to try Freenas, do it on a virtual machine first and see how it works before you roll it out onto actual hardware. You can just download VirtualBox. It's free. If you just Google VirtualBox, you find the installer, you can install it, and you can create a new virtual machine. And you can create disks in storage. You can just set it up like that. And so I made 8 drives, just like in my actual Freenas server. I only made 1 USB drive for now, because I tried this before with 2, and it was just giving me some weird errors in booting in the VM. So in the actual server I do have it with 2, but not sure what was up with that. So I have it configured mostly like my real server. So LSI SAS controller, 8 drives, and I'm going to install to the 1 USB drive. So let's go ahead and do that, and walk you through the process. All right, so if we just go ahead and start this. All right, let's make it a little bit bigger. I can actually see what's going on. It's scaled mode. Yes, switch. So now it'll be scaled. So we just want to boot the installer. So when you're doing this, you need to create you need to have a third USB drive. You need to make it a bootable USB drive. So you make it bootable from the ISO that you download from Freenas. And then you greet it with this, and then you're gonna install 2 the USB drives after that. So we go to install upgrades, and then it's gonna say I don't have enough RAM, because that's fine, because this is just virtual machine. But again, like, you need more when you're doing the actual thing. So yeah, here's where you select your installation USB drives. So you can ignore the other drives. So the top one is my USB drive. Well, that would be my USB drive. So you can select it with space. So if you have 2 USB drives, you would select 2, and then it will be mirrored across those 2 drives. I'm not going to do that for the virtual machine, but that's what you would do when you actually install, well, the entire thing. And then you press enter, and then it's gonna say, yeah, I'm gonna erase stuff. You make a password, and let's boot via UEFI, and then it's gonna install, and this is gonna take a little while. So I guess I'll get back to you when when this is all done. Alright, so it finished installing, and it booted, and the booting takes a while, of course. And then when you're greeted with this window, you can see the web user interface is at HTTP and then an internal IP address. So I can go and navigate to this internal IP address. So that's what I do here. So then you get greeted with this, and the default login is, I think, root, and then the password that you set before. So let's log in. And I don't want to save this. So now we're greeted within Freenas. I'm running this from my laptop. So this is the CPU that's in my laptop. yeah, so now we're in here, and now we can start in configuring some of the pools that we want to configure. Right, so if you go to storage, pools, and there's currently no pool active, of course, but we want to add a pool. So we're going to create a new pool, give it a cool name like my pool, or Freenas Tuck Life. Maybe that's another one. Right, Freenas Tuck Life. Super nice name. And you can see all of the disks that we have here. So yeah, there's multiple ways basically of configuring a pool. So what you would normally do is, like, you can, for example, add drives, and you can say how do you want to configure it. So you want to RAID, stripe, mirror. But what I did is, because if you want to configure RAID 10, you're gonna make multiple mirrors. So you're gonna make a mirror, then extend the pool, make a mirror. But with Freenas 11.2, you can still go to the old user interface, and I just found that easier to set up RAID 10. So you go to legacy user interface. So this is the old user interface. So let's log in there. Right, then you get some initialization wizard, and let's just set up our thing here. So we'll call it freelance tuck pool, whatever. Right, and here we actually have a thing to set it up as RAID 10. I'm not sure why they removed that from the new user interface, but you can just put it like that. Please wait. Just click next on all of the things. And then you can put it as SMB share or whatever. We're gonna do that later, so let's not name it anything. And then we're gonna click next. And then confirm, and then it's gonna set up these volumes. So again, if you wanted to set it up differently, you just select whichever pool you want to set up. So just set it up like this, and when you see how it works, we can maybe delete it and try another configuration, just so you know how it works. So yeah, this takes a little bit. All right. So yeah, that's all working. Let's go to storage volumes. We could have also done it then. Maybe let's go back to the original, not to the legacy UI, just to the normal UI. Then we're back here. So now we got a pool going. So you can see here's all our drives, and they're configured as RAID 10 right now. So let's go to pool, storage, pools. So if you would like, you could have also made them a different type of RAID, for example, and then well, depending on what you want. So let's for now let's delete the pool. For example, let's go here. So let's remove it for now, just so you know how you can set up a RAID 10. So that's how I set up my RAID 10. But let's say if we have a pool and we wanna like have a bigger pool later on. So let's go over that. Right, so I remove my pool. So now let's say we make let's make a new pool again and call it again my pool or something. And let's say we just add, let's say we add these two, and we're gonna put them as a mirror, right? So we're gonna create, confirm. Now we're gonna create a pool. Right, so now let's say this is our pool. So it's 14.8 gigabytes. What we can do is, for example, we can say extend, confirm, and we can add another mirror and click extend. So this is sort of doing what I was doing before in the legacy interface. But the point is that you can extend a pool this way, so you can grow your pool. The only thing is so now you can see this the size doubled. The only thing is that, for example, when you do RAID 10, initially when you set it up with the amount of drives, that's basically going to determine how fast the stuff is going to be on your drive. So, like, let's say if I initially set it up with only 4 drives, and then I extend it later to 8, it won't initially be faster. Well, the new stuff that will be written to it will be faster, because it will take faster because the new stuff will use the new stripe size with the new drives. But the old data, like the old data, won't, because it will still be striped across only the 4 drives. That's why you kind of want to use a big pool to begin with, so as many drives as you can, and then later you add the pool. So if you initially add 8 drives, you kind of want to add 8 more drives when you when you want to grow your pool. That's why I went with 8 drives initially. So you can see I can just keep extending this pool if I want. So let's continue doing this until we have basically a RAID 10. Mirror, extend. But again, you can also just so you can set this up any way you want. You can set it up as a mirror. You can set it up as you can set it up as a stripe. You can set it up as RAID C. You can set it up any way you want. So let's again do let's extend it again. And you can see the older way of doing this was a lot faster, because we only had to do 1 click. So now we're gonna have the same thing that we had before. So now we have this same pool size, and if we go to disks, you can see all of our disks here. All right, so within this pool, like we have these drives here, within this pool we can create a data set. So this is the actual pool, so all of the disks. And within this we can create a data set. So maybe call this, for example, my data set, or whatever. Let's make it Windows, and click Save. So this is a set of data within this. So you can have multiple of these. So you can, if I can do another one, so call it my cool data, whatever. So this will be 2 different data sets, which can have individually, and so this, these will be individual drives, sort of say, within this pool. And then we can go to sharing. We can create a SMB share. So you generally want to use SMB shares if you're in a mixed environment, and even if you're not in a mixed environment, probably use SMB shares. So we want to select, okay, what do we want to share? So I want to share my data set, and click Save. So this is going to set it up as an SMB share, which means I can access it after this from another computer. So now this is set up and then enable service, because we need to enable SMB as a service. This is going to take a little bit. Right, so now we have a SMB share here. So SMB stands for Samba. And the service is started. So go here. So SMB has been enabled. So let's go to back here. So you can see it's set there. So now we can technically connect through it from another computer in the network. Right. So now in order to log into this, you can log in as a root, but you kind of need to set your password again to be able to do this. So you can go to storage, no, not storage, where is it? User accounts, users. There are a root account here. Kind of need to set our password, so the same as we had before, but not sure why, but if you don't do that here, then you cannot log into it for some reason. So you press save. It's gonna take a little bit. And then what you can do is you can make a new folder, go to like that. And I already logged in because I tried this, but you can see here is my data set. So, and then you can just, you can put data in here. I'm not sure how big this thing is, but so you can see I copied it over. So now this is contained within the data set. And you can, within this, you can, so if I make another one, so we'll go to sharing, SMB shares, and let's do the other one. Let's do the my cool data. So now it will probably not show up by default because for some reason Windows never refreshes this properly. But if I log out right now and then log back in, it should be here. So let me try that. All right, so I logged in again and you can see my cool data is there as well. So if I go in here, you can see my data is there. But if I go in here, it's not there. So you can see, even though they're the same drives, they're different data sets, so they can contain different types of data. So I could call this work, for example, and call this one files. So you can really, within the same drives, you can pull them together to to function as different drives, but they will use the same storage. So that's quite cool. So for example, let's say, so you can see the usage here. So currently I'm using 13.56 megabytes. So if I copy this in here, maybe copy it, so skip, I guess. Let's duplicate this a couple of times. If I renew now, you can see the pool is using this much. You can see this data set is using this much and this data set is using this much, but they're using the same pool, so the same drives. So with the whole configuration out of the way and showing how that works, let's just move into the actual server that I built, because that's of course a lot cooler, but now you know how to set something like this up. So we're here in the IPMI interface. Yeah, and this is what I was talking about in the previous video. So this is the remote control basically for the server. This is a lot of cool stuff. For example, you can see the sensor readings, like I can get accurate CPU temperatures, voltages, stuff like that. I can do BIOS update if I want directly from here. What I can also do is there's also IKVM. So this will give me the output of the monitor. So if I had a monitor connected to this device, this is what I would see. It actually doesn't have a monitor connected. So I can just do this over the network. And right now, this is not super interesting, of course. This is just like giving some stuff from, I guess there's an error with something something on the server. I'm not sure. But I can also, for example, reboot my server from the IPMI here, and then you can see like everything that it's doing. So let me show you what that looks like. All right, so let's power down the computer. Now this is probably gonna, as you can see, this is stopping, terminated, blah 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 blah. So now Freenas is shutting down. So this takes a little bit. And there we go. Now it's shut down. So now you can see there's nothing here. So let's say I want to power it on again. So let me go to put it to power on. Let's go back here. There we go. So you can see this is the IPMI IP here. So this is gonna boot. So let's wait for this to boot. And this is actually quite useful because
for example, when I was configuring this thing and I didn't want to be in the office the entire time, so I could just do a lot of stuff just from home from my laptop. I'm actually recording this now from home from my laptop, so that's yeah, like super useful to be able to do this kind of stuff. So this takes a while. It needs to go through all of the checks, which is usually a little bit slower with Xeon-based systems. All right, so now it's gonna give some stuff, and let's press delete to run setup. See if that actually works from the entering setup. No, I typed it wrong. Now you can see we're actually in the BIOS on the laptop that I'm recording from. So seriously, how cool is that? Yeah, of course, I don't really need to change anything here right now. So I guess let's just exit. But you can see this is actually super cool to be able to just control the system directly from here. So let's just exit this and just let the Freenas server boot again. So quit without saving. We cannot click, of course, but so now it's gonna boot again. So let's just have it boot, and then yeah, once it boots, once it's done booting again, so you can see Freenas here. That's gonna boot in a couple of seconds, and you can see we're going through the same boot type sequence that we went through before. So yeah, let's just wait for this to complete, and this takes a while. This is why some people recommend booting from SSDs instead of USB drives, since, well, it's a little bit slower from USB drives, but it's still not too bad. And if I'm honest, like, this is the first time I've rebooted this thing in, well, since I've been using it, actually. So, I mean, you're gonna use it, you're gonna run it 24/7 anyway, so I don't really see the point of then getting the SSDs and wasting SATA port for yeah, for that. Yeah, you can see it sees the serial test SCSI at the 6 GB transfer rate. So it's just doing a lot of checks for all of the different devices. All right, so we're booted. You can see the same as with the yeah, as with my with the virtual machine. I get this IP, and if I go to there, then we get into the Freenas. So let's do that. All right, so we're in the Freenas, and you can see it's yeah, it's the same as before. So it here's well, not the same as before, because right now we're in the actual server. But you can see here's all my regular drives, and here's my SSD pools. So if I go to storage pools, you can see I have my HDD pool here, and you can see I have multiple data sets of files, media, and work. And media has like Plex and NetCloud storage. So that's basically, if I go into work, you can see this is my work drive. So and within that I just organize it with like folders. So work is client work, tutorials are my tutorial stuff, and play is just my personal stuff. I just like calling it play, I guess, because then it doesn't feel like doing work. The config stuff, so yeah, well, Houdini stuff, LUTs, OpenColor IO, whatever. Yeah, and then files where I just have extra files, stock footage, tutorials, some setup files, like the deadline installer and stuff. So yeah, I just have, so those are just basically the pools here, and I have, well, I don't have media mounted because I just use that for Plex. And then I have sharing. We have Windows SMB shares here. So those are the shares that I'm using here. So you can see it's actually very, very similar. So if I were to go to disks, so this is what I was mentioning before. So each of the disks has a serial number, and that's why you kind of want to write the serials of your drives on the back sides of the drives. So as you can see in this picture, is that I did that because if one of these drives will fail, then at least I know which one I have to take out. Which, if you don't do this, then you have to take out each and every one and check the serial numbers. So always label your drives. But you can see it's basically sort of the same as as that we did before, but now it's running on actual hardware. So you can see Xeon Silver, 64 gigabytes of RAM. So yeah, that's the Freenas server here. All right, so I also did a bunch of benchmarks, and benchmarks are a little bit more difficult than you would imagine, because when you do writes and reads from the server, you never really know if the writes and reads are coming from the RAM, so from the ARC, the cache basically, or from the disks. So the benchmark results you get kind of differ depending on like what you're doing. So for example, Crystal Disk Mark. So I just ran one, and these are the results that I got. Sometimes it's a lot higher and sometimes it's a little bit lower. Like the lowest I've seen, it was like 500 megabytes sequential. I got it to be like well over 1,000 here. I think this probably went mostly into ARC, so into the cache. But overall, the results are like pretty good. So this is a lot higher than you would get from like a regular hard drive, and even faster than from a regular non-NVMe SSD. Of course, the random reads and writes from a SSD will be faster, but for sequential, this is quite good. So what I tried with another benchmark is, for example, I tried this. So this will generate a very large random file. So that's what I have here. Let me go back. This one. So you can see this generated a random file of 135 gigabytes. And then this reads it back. But the random generation is very CPU bound, so I'm not sure how accurate that is. But if you write an empty file, then you don't really get an accurate representation either, because this empty file will be very compressed, so a lot faster to read. But anyway, we can check how fast this is. So I guess bytes to just Google bytes per second, 0 megabit per second, so 958 megabytes per second, I guess. And let's with the other one. So the read. So this is clearly not correct. Maybe something like this would be megabyte per second. I guess that would make more sense. And what was the other? So I guess, yeah, this makes more sense. So I guess with this internal test here, with this very large file, it was writing at 120 because this is slow because of the random function, and it was reading at a little bit over 600 megabytes. But keep in mind that it's completely random data, so it cannot be compressed at all. So yeah, but I guess still quite fast. But if there's a better way to benchmark Freenas, I'm not sure. Maybe if someone watching this knows, let me know. But these are the types of benchmarks that I tried to get my my numbers, and I'm quite happy with like the way that it's looking and performing. So it's about in line with what I was expecting. Depending on how you're looking at it, some benchmarks are above it, some are below it, but overall pretty good. So maybe if we just want to test like transferring a big file, maybe what we can try is like I have on my some internal SSD, which is a normal SSD, not a NVMe drive, so it'll be capped in speed anyway, but I have some big files here. So let's copy one over, see how fast it goes. So this can probably be bottlenecked by the SSD itself because it's a regular SATA SSD, but you can see it transfers basically at the maximum speed you would expect. So yeah, quite fast. I don't think I can copy it the other way around because this file is too big, but we can try. Not gonna do this entire thing, but you can see it's pretty steady. 500, 550. I would say that's pretty good. And keep in mind that with a file this big, this is definitely not coming from the cache because this is too big, because I have 64 gigabytes of RAM and this is 135 gigabytes. So yeah, going pretty steady. All right, so let's talk a little bit about snapshotting. So I already briefly discussed this in the previous part of this video, but what snapshotting is, as the name implies, it's taking a snapshot of a data set. And this snapshot will allow you to recover the state of the data set back to the way it was at the time of the snapshot. So let's say you accidentally delete a very important folder on your network drive. Normally the drive would be gone because if you didn't know that already, if you delete something from a network drive, it doesn't go to your trash on Windows or on Mac or Linux, wherever you are. It doesn't go to trash. It's just gone. So it's unlike with a locally mounted drive. So snapshots are a way to mitigate this or to restore a version of a file that you might have lost and you need back at this point. So yeah, let's discuss a little bit about how this works. All right, so let's go into how to make a snapshot basically. So if I go to storage and then snapshots, you can see I have a whole bunch of snapshots here because I have this automated tasks basically. But let's do a manual one. So I have this Houdini 18 setup file here. Now let's say I want to, I accidentally delete it. So let's make a snapshot and then we can show how this goes. All right, so let's call it tutorial snapshot, I guess, and click save. And I already tried this before, but I was stupid enough to keep recording. So I keep doing stream recording to the same pool. So the file got corrupted because I was putting back my snapshot while I was recording. So that was quite dumb, but I'm doing it again now. So anyway, so we did a snapshot. So we see tutorial snapshot here. And it's using 0 bytes and it's referencing 3.3 terabytes. All right. So let's look in here and let's delete our Houdini setup file and delete. And let's refresh and search for tutorial again. All right, so that's actually weird. Let's refresh again. All right, now it's correct. So you can see our tutorial snapshot is referencing 1.19 gigabytes, which is the size of our Houdini setup file. So it's using that. And if you go in here, you can see the setup file is gone, and I cannot Control Z this. It's just gone. So let's say I want to get it back. So I guess maybe let's try getting it back. So what I can do is I can click rollback. You want to roll back? Yes, I want to roll back. So let's do that. So it's going to roll back the entire data set to that exact snapshot. Let's go to tutorial. You can see now it's using 0 bytes again. I go here, I go to and then go back. You can see Houdini here is back. So that's super powerful. But you might also think that, okay, but it's going to reset the entire data structure of this thing. And that's probably something you don't want to do. You don't want to if you only lost one file or one folder, you don't want to reset the entire thing. So there's a way to do this. So let's talk a little bit about how that works. All right. So now let's say I accidentally have this deleted again. So let's delete it. And now you can see if I look for tutorial again, You can see, let's refresh again. I was too fast. Right, you can see it's referencing that again. So what I can do instead of rolling it back, what I can do is I can say clone. So what this will do is we'll create a new data set called work tutorial snapshot clone. So let's click save. And now if I go to my my HCD pool and I see snapshots here, you can see there's a new data set called work tutorial snapshot clone. So that's referencing the same drive basically as work, but this is the snapshot with the file in there. So what we can now do is we can create a share from that. So let's go to SMB shares. Let's add. Let's go to HCD pool and let's select this one and click save. So we create an SMB share from that. And now let's try to connect to that. All right, so I had to sign in again because Windows sometimes just doesn't want to show new network shares. So I just did that. Now let's try going to, all right, let's make a new one, browser, and let's go to 192.168.111.250, whatever. All right, so you can see works tutorial snapshot clone. So if we go in there, you can see we have our Houdini file there. So then what we can do is we can copy from that share back to our regular work share. And you can see that went super fast. And now we have it back in our work share. So that's a way you can recover like single files. You can just go browse through it and recover whatever you want. So yeah, that's a way you can do something like this. So yeah, super cool stuff, right? So yeah, very powerful. So let's go a little bit about how you can automate something like this. So automating is actually quite simple. You just go to tasks and then you go to, where is it? Periodic snapshots. And you can see I have periodic snapshots configured here. So for my work drive, I do one every 2 hours and I keep the snapshot for 2 days. I do one every day, keep it for a week, and do one every week, keep it for a month, one every 4 weeks, and keep it for a year. So then you have a wide range of snapshots which you can recover from. This just seemed like a good way to do it. I guess you can do it more, you can do it less, but I'm doing this for a whole bunch of pools. And because it just only saves the differences, it doesn't like take a lot of storage. You can see in my snapshots again, it hardly takes up, like some take up a couple of gigabytes and stuff. Of course, if you delete like caches and stuff, then the snapshots will get like big. But I mean, if you have a really big one and you know you can delete it, you can also just do that manually, I guess. But yeah, super cool stuff, the snapshot. And that's just a super powerful function of ZFS and available super easily inside of Freenas. So another cool thing that I was also talking about in the previous video is about using the UPS. So we can find the UPS if we go to services. And you can see here, so there's a whole bunch of services here. So we go to UPS, so you can see it's currently on. So let's go in here. All right, so this was actually pretty simple to set up. So you just enable the UPS service, and then you put like the UPS that you have, and then which you. So I connected it with USB, and then you put like what do you want to connect it to. And there's I got a lot of this info from an awesome guy on YouTube. I forgot his name right now, but I will post all of that in the description. That's showing you how you know which port it's connected to and all of that stuff. So I got a lot of those settings from him. But so what will happen is like shutdown mode will be if the UPS goes on battery. So let's say if I have power shutdown. So if it detects power shutdown, so if it goes on battery, then it will shut down in 60 seconds. So you can see this is the time in settings, in seconds. So basically, if we have a power shutdown, it will just initiate a shutdown when the power goes out. Alright guys, so let's head over to the backup server and see how I got that configured. Alright, so we're here inside the backup server. And this one, well, this used to be my regular server, which I just had a bunch of drives put in RAID 1. Like I had two 8 terabyte drives put in RAID 1 as a work drive, and then two 4 terabyte drives for stock footage and stuff like that. I moved all of that over to the Freenas server now. But like that was pretty slow. And I had an extra 8 terabyte drives for backups and stuff. And then I was using Backblaze for cloud backup. So what I did now is I actually pulled together, like I wiped all of the drives that were in here before, and I pulled together all these drives using storage spaces. So if you don't know what storage spaces is, it's a way to pull together drives inside of Windows. So you can just add drives one by one as well. So you don't have to add them in a batch. It's not super fast. It's probably not the most reliable either, but as a backup thing, I think it's pretty good. Also keep in mind that like RAID is not a backup. So like even though you just build your new Freenas server, it's not, well, even if it has like redundancy, you can't expect it to function as a backup. You need actual physical or cloud backup somewhere, just in case your server dies. So in my case, that's this server. So I have a storage space set up as a B drive. It has 14.5 terabytes available of storage, using it as a mirror. And I have, well, as you can see, I have 1, 2, 3 8 terabyte drives in there, and then 2 4 terabyte drives, like I mentioned before. And if I need to grow this later, I can just add drives one by one. I still, this case is defined R5, so I have plenty of room also to just keep adding drives to this, I guess. So yeah, that's where the where the backup goes. So that's just located right here. So you can see Freenas backup. It gets over here, and I'm doing this with the backup for all, which is a backup program. It allows you to do also backup from and to network drives. So I just have this set up to be to have my sources selected, and then scheduler. I do it once every week. So every Sunday gets backed up. Maybe I could increase this. I don't want to stress the reads and writes on the server too much, but I probably should put it to every couple of days. But anyway, this mirrors the entire Freenas thing, so it doesn't do any incremental stuff. For like short-term recovery things, I have the snapshots, and for incremental recovery, I have Backblaze. So let me show you what that is. So that's the reason why I'm running this on Windows, actually. Is there's a service called Backblaze, and it only runs on Mac and Windows, and it's unlimited cloud backup for $6 a month. So that's super cheap, and it's actually unlimited. Like there's a lot of people backing up dozens of terabytes on this. So I'm pretty with my 5 terabytes. I'm not even that bad, but it's cheaper than doing it like through Amazon S3 or something like that. They do have a pro version of this as well, but like the pro version, like you pay per gigabyte, it's not unlimited, and that runs on Linux as well. But they're trying to sort of make sure that people don't use this too much in a professional environment, and most servers run Linux, so that's why I guess they didn't make it available on Linux. And you cannot select network drives in it, only local drives. So I guess this is my workaround to just use Backblaze. So this backups to the cloud is an encrypted backup. So I have the private key. So if my main server and the backup server were to fail simultaneously, or if like the building burns down, so like if the building burns down, then I can still recover my data this way. I mean, it'll be slow to download, but they can even send in a drive. So that is how I'm doing yeah, how I'm basically backing up all my stuff. So, and you could, I guess, like do your own thing. You could also set up an Unraid server to do something like this, or maybe a Synology box would also be good for backup like this. But then you cannot really run backplace on it. So this is my way of backing up. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the file sharing that I'm using. All right, so this is also running from the backup server. And this is actually, so I was gonna have trying my hand at Nextcloud, but I decided to just stick with Crash FTP. And you could also run this inside of a virtual machine inside of Freenas, I guess. But I have this machine running anyway. I might as well do it on this one, so it doesn't take up resources from the Freenas server. But what I meant by the port is that, like with this thing, I can append the port, and this is gonna look for the for the port. Like if I were to just type this without something, then it would go to the Apache server that's running from some other company here. I think they're using it for a game development thing. But let me copy and paste this, because for some reason SSL is not enabled when I do it like that. All right, so this is actually linking through my to my internal file. So let's log in. So successful loading web interface. And you can see my my two drives there. So if I go to work, and let's make just a list. So I can go into work, or let's go into tutorials, for example, 2020, and then this is the thing that I'm recording. So this work tutorials 2020 tutorial. And like, let's say I want to share something, for example, like I want to so let's share. I want to share this one. I can just go to quick share, press send, and then I can copy the link to clipboard, and then people can download it. So if, let's say I go to, there's another browser now, let's say this is someone else's browser, let's copy and paste this thing. You can say I get a, do you want to download? I can press save. You can see now this downloaded the actual file for my server. So this didn't happen over the network, this actually happened over the internet. So this is a super useful way to share, to basically share files with clients. So, because I mean, of course, if I do like simulation stuff, or if I have, then I sometimes have to share very big VDB sequences or alembics, and those can be in the dozens or hundreds of gigabytes. So this is a lot faster to share. So because if I were to use something like Dropbox, I mean, if I have to upload 300 gigabyte files every now and then the thing will fill up super quickly, of course. And I have to wait for the uploads. But with this, I can just generate a link and send it to a client. They can download it, and I have pretty fast internet here. So like the internet in the network here is so let's wait for this to connect, but it's it's pretty fast. So yeah, I mean, I can I can share files pretty quickly with this. And I'm also using this to because I'm revamping my website, and all of the Patreon files are going to be hosted on this server as well, because I was like, Patreon has some limitations. I'll make a video about this later, but I'm building a new site which is almost done, which has Patreon integrated, and all of the files are going to be hosted from this server, and it can be downloaded from the website there. Anyway, so that's what I'm doing for file sharing. So yeah, that about wraps up the entire video, I guess. So yeah, there was quite a long two-parter. I mean, the running time of these two parts in total was like over an hour, well over an hour. So I guess I made sort of a feature movie with less effects than I usually do. Anyway, I really hope you enjoyed this. Let me hear your thoughts on this type of stuff, and if you want to see more of this type of stuff, then tell me in the comments and tell me what I can improve. Because if the feedback is good, I will definitely make a lot more of these videos. But yeah, really make sure to smash the like button. That really helps out the YouTube algorithm, so that would be great. Make sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon if you want to be notified of any future videos. So like my Houdini tutorials and other cool stuff. I have a lot coming up this year, so definitely subscribe if you don't want to miss any of that. And check out my new website, timvanhelsdingen.com, which now has like nice Patreon integration and all other cool stuff. So yeah, hopefully see you there. Thanks guys. Peace.